Field of 68's best bets. It is a spinny Saturday. We are the three-man weave. We're here to host. I know it looks like Kai doesn't have a spinny hat on top. Looks like he beheaded his spinny hat, but it's there. Trust me. There. It's in the background. We are presented by BetRivers. Of course, as always, thank you to our wonderful sponsor. Hey, if you're in the chat right now, hit that like button, hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be hitting your questions later. Kai is our chat czar for the morning.
Yes, I am.
So take up any complaints with him. Guys, I know you got to go to a concert last night, but do you have any takeaways via scores or the ball you did get to watch? What did you see out there, Kai?
Jim, I watched zero ball. I watched absolutely none. Wow. It was a nice break. I looked at scores. I saw our best bet. My best bet lost yesterday. That's tough loss, but it happens, Jim. I'm going to watch a lot of basketball today, Matt, and make up for it.
Yeah, I will too. I will be in person actually for DePaul, Loyola. We're going to be playing Possessed, baby, the Demons on the kind of south side, sort of middle of the city. Jim, I learned from score watching, along with Kai, I did not watch a lot of ball myself, that fading Cornell is not a smart financial endeavor. And I finally learned my lesson when I did check my score on the best bet that was down, I think 30 in the first half at some point. I Coffee made like a late BS run to cut it to a closer deficit. But yeah, when you give up 15 threes in the first half, it's not usually a good sign for your side. So Cornell's good.
I mean,
Cornell's good.
Cornell's offense is unbelievable right now. It's just
that roster makes no sense to me. Like, I don't know any of those players at all. It's like guys that were kind of cast offs to you. It's amazing. The other Earl is doing yeoman's work there.
Yep. The other Earl, both Earls had big performances last night. VMI won at Portland. And of course, Cornell took care of business. Guys, my takeaway is an eye test. Oh, Jim watched basketball. How about
cool.
that?
Sweet.
Purdue got up 19, almost 20 against Iowa and then collapsed. And it was a really weird manner of doing so. They couldn't handle Iowa's pressure and Iowa really sped them up.
Iowa's D. What?
But how often is anyone going to do that to Purdue in the Big Ten? Like, nobody really plays that speed you up style. Like, maybe Michigan State's kind of like in your grill defense a little bit, maybe Nebraska, but they're not good enough. I don't know. It felt a little bit fluky just because Iowa was so desperate and they didn't have Keegan Murray. So they kind of had to throw something out there. They played a lot more of their bench guys, but I'm concluding that I am not that worried about Purdue. And so despite the late comeback, the late surge from Iowa, it is not like Purdue panic button, look out.
Yeah, I think we've seen the Big Ten struggle against extreme styles, Kai, out of conference. Maybe you give McCaffrey credit for throwing a little wrench in the well-oiled machine there, but no, Purdue's awesome. I put them on the Gonzaga Duke tier. I'm prepared to put them on that pantheon, Kai.
The injuries don't matter either. There's a guy in the chat saying, Matt, that you ran him off the play, but Keegan Murray didn't play for Iowa. No one's betting Iowa yesterday.
Yeah,
they knew
sorry.
That information.
That went from -13 to -15.5 in the instant that the Keegan Murray got reported. So, yeah, I mean, clearly the money was flowing in and it looked right for a while, but Iowa came back and saved any Hawkeye backers. All right, let's get into today's outline. There are a billion games today, so we're going to have a lot to talk about, but we're going to start in the Pacific Northwest. Gonzaga and Alabama. This is taking place in Seattle on a neutral court. Matt, I don't know. Do you still give Alabama do you give Gonzaga any home just for the 3 time zones that Alabama has to go here? It's a mega high total. We know it's going to be a track meet. What do you see here?
Yeah, I think you have to. And I actually didn't give enough. I made this a little bit lower. I actually like Alabama here, Jim. And it's different than the Duke handicap, but it's not. I guess it's similar in the fact that I just think that Alabama is closer to the Gonzaga perch than the market seems to think. I mean, they're 5-2 against the number this year, covering by a fairly hardy cover margin. It seems like Bama's sort of fallen beneath the cracks in terms of teams we're not really talking about in like that tier 2 in the top 10 range. They've done nothing wrong. I guess the concern here with backing
they
Bama
lost to Iona. That's something wrong.
Iona's good. We know that team's really good. They just beat the doors off Rider, although Rider's a terrible basketball team. So that doesn't
Rider's really bad.
Yeah, Rider's bad.
If you think they're top 10, that's doing something wrong. I'll say that.
Fair. But I still think Alabama's a top 10 team. I throw that result out, Kai. But my concern in this matchup is the pace. Gonzaga runs as good as anyone in the country, and Alabama might be walking into a death trap with that. So this number will play higher than it's currently sitting at I believe 9.5 is the
it is 9.5, and the
total's been bet up.
Yeah, 162.5, and that was what I was kind of looking at, Matt, the over in this game because there will be a lot of possessions. I think both teams can score here. There's just no match for Timmy. That's the problem for Alabama. There's absolutely nobody that can stop him. That's most games, but especially in this game here. And I just think Gonzaga can take away what Alabama wants to do inside. So I'm leaning towards Gonzaga here, leaning towards the over.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kai. Alabama's 208th in 2-point percentage defense. You cannot be vulnerable inside against Gonzaga or you'll get destroyed. Look what happened to UCLA, even Texas. I mean, they tried to cover Timmy one-on-one, and that's a total disaster. Duke had the bodies to kind of throw at Timmy, and Alabama does not have that. So for Alabama to stay in it, I do think they need to score like 75, 80. So that the total obviously makes sense. I would lean towards the Zags. Unfortunately, I just think the Duke game was a little more of an aberration where somebody was able to match them physically and athletically. I don't think Alabama can quite do that. They're in the middle of a tough schedule. They got to travel. So, Matt, I wish you well if you back the Tide. I love my guy, Nate Oates, but
yeah, you're down your boy Oatesy. I think if Oates is smart, Jim, which we know him to be, he'll completely like punt the defensive end with Timmy. Just try and get Timmy in space on offense and just try and play that offense defense matchup to your favor on the other end. But yeah, you're not going to stop him. Don't try to. Don't play a dud up front in a traditional big. Play your wings.
That's the interesting part with them because they don't run a lot of ball screen so much as it's just like ISO.
Right. Just drive and kick.
They're not bringing Timmy into ball screen coverage, but we'll see. Maybe they'll try to do that a little more and get him matched up and into switches. I don't know. We'll find out. All right. So nothing too strong there. We'll move on. We'll stay west, stay in the state of Washington. Got USC heading to Washington State in a Pac-12 battle here. Kai, Washington State just gave up 29 points in a game against Arizona State. I know that
full 40 minutes. Yeah.
Right. USC's defense is the more lauded unit here, but Washington State can play some D2. Both teams have terrific 2-point percentage defenses, so they're going to take away the rim. Do you trust either of these perimeter groups to open up the floor?
Yeah, I think Washington State's 10th right now in 2-point percentage defense. Very, very good, obviously, against USC. USC is number 9 in KenPom. They keep moving up despite like not playing. It's like the Pac-12 phenomenon last year. They are very good. USC is very good this year. 5-2 against the spread.
Blew out Utah, who was down like 3 key players.
Yeah, exactly. Right. There's still some. I know we're always poking holes in USC's resume, but there are holes you can poke this year in the opponents. But I do think they're good, Matt. I just think Wazoo needs this game, man. And Kyle Smith, better coach, in my opinion, than Andy Enfield. Both games were relatively close last year, despite the disparity in talent. And I think the talent is more equal this year. So I'm leaning towards Wazoo. Absolutely nothing strong, though.
Yeah, people forget about how talented this Washington State team is. I mean, a lot of these sophomores and Deshaun Jackson, for example, a lot of 4-star guys in this roster. It's not like a bunch of 3 stars that Kyle Smith's like bloomed into studs. I mean, he's obviously coached them up. They've developed, but like there is some talent here. And I think the key thing, Jim, is that there's size. Few teams can really match USC's size pound for pound, but with Mogi, Deshaun Jackson,
have the sentence written, one of the few teams that can match USC size. So
did I? Wow.
Go off, King.
I think I'm using my X-ray goggles to see through your screen here. Very multi-talented types of devices here. Yeah, I think it's a tough match for USC. I've been wanting to back Washington State all season. Haven't really had a good opportunity to because I feel like they've been priced pretty highly. They've not been very cheap in the market. But against USC, who, like Kai said, is, I think, overpriced, you're getting a pretty good spot here to hit the Cougars. So I am with Kai here on the Cougs.
Yep, I am too. As recently as like 20 minutes ago when I was putting in the numbers pre-show, USC was still favored at BetRivers, but it is now flipped. Washington State is the favorite. So people are picking up what you're putting down, Matt and Kai, and I'm with you. I would lean towards Wazoo at home there. All right, we are remaining west for our last 2 games before our first chat break, and then we're going to the state of Colorado for both of them here. First one up, we got St. Mary's at Colorado State. I don't know what's going on with Randy Bennett. He's decided to play the toughest non-con schedule I think he's ever ventured on.
Scorched earth.
Yeah, back-to-back road games at altitude coming straight from Utah State the other night. I mean, it's quite a gauntlet for them. Matt, I think normally I'd be wanting to back the Gales, especially getting more than 3 points. I think these teams are pretty close to equal, but the situational spot has me a little bit nervous because of that double altitude and St. Mary's little gauntlet so far. So do you think they can hang around your Gales?
They are my Gales. Got lucky to cover. Let's just be honest with the Utah State result. I think Utah State controlled that first half, and then the bogus call on our guy Justin Bean was tough to watch. But hey, got it done. And you're right, Jim. They're kind of like preparing themselves for a pseudo Pac-12 schedule, doing the mountain trip almost with the Utah State to Colorado State back-to-back in altitude. Kai, I think these two teams are pretty damn evenly matched. It all comes down to how much home you're going to give in this one. And I think the odds makers got it right based on the implied price that they have, -4. Colorado State's kind of due for, I think, a really impressive game. We've seen them have spurts of it this season. Feels like a lot of people had them, pegged as just to be better, more consistent than they have been. I think tonight's probably a good spot where they maybe catch a weary, traveled St. Mary's squad.
Yeah, and odds makers did adjust for that. Ken Palm's got this game 1. The market is 4. That's annoying because I did want to back Colorado State in this game. I love St. Mary's, but the altitude back-to-back, Peter said in the chat, is there any reason to treat this differently than Colorado, Utah, the Pac-12 mountain trip? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
No, it's pretty similar. And these are both, obviously, Utah State's a really hard place to play. I think Colorado State is too. So I was hoping at Colorado State here. 4 is way too high, especially the way St. Mary's can control the pace. So I'm staying away, Jim. +4, I guess I lean towards St. Mary's, but the altitude back-to-back scares me.
Yeah, I guess the one difference, though, worth mentioning that St. Mary's notorious. They never leave their friendly confines for non-con. So this is like such a different experience for them. So yeah, while the Pac-12 teams have to go through the gauntlet of the mountain trip, Colorado, Utah, St. Mary's has never done anything like this. So, I mean, you could argue this is one of the larger home courts in any game today of the season, even.
Yeah, I think that's entirely fair. John Doe said under in the chat, and man, I know St. Mary's is going to want this to play to like 60 possessions, if that. Yeah. Like, just turn this into a crawl. So I certainly buy the under. They've got some decent matchups for Roddy, and he's the big straw that stirs the drink for Colorado State. So I would buy that under. All right, let's head down the road from Fort Collins down to Boulder, Tennessee at Colorado. This is the return game of a home and home. Tennessee and Colorado played a really ugly one with McKinley Wright in the lineup last year in Knoxville. We don't know for sure on Josiah Jordan-James. His status is unclear. Kai, I don't quite trust Tennessee as a road favorite at altitude right now, but I also don't trust anybody in Colorado's backcourt. So this is a tough debate for me. It's probably a stay away ultimately where I settle, but the money has come in for the Volunteers.
Yeah, and that's not too surprising considering how Colorado started. They're 2-5 against the spread. I've been impressed with Barthélemy for Colorado. He's been way better than I expected.
He is shutting me up.
Yeah. So he's handling lead guard duties fairly well. I think we saw Colorado maybe turn a little bit, Matt, towards the good side against UCLA when they punched back. They got down early and they came back, and they lost by 12. I'm not sure if that was a cover or not. Can't remember. I don't like Tennessee on the road here, Jim. I agree. And 5 points seems like a lot. I'm leaning towards Colorado here. They have the muscle, Matt, the brawn, your boy, Braun, Batty, to combat the uber athletes for Tennessee.
Yeah, Bunnies and Braun are one of our favorite tandems last year. I do lean Colorado at the current number. I think at the opener, 4.5. I was maybe hoping to catch 4 or 3 and lay Tennessee, even though it's a tough spot here. But I can't do that. If anything, I think Kai has the right lean here at 6. Should play with a low number, Jim. Could feel like a rock fight. It feels just like a dead spot for Tennessee. And we've seen the non-conference tilts have really strong home for these big kind of marquee games. I know it's not like 2 ranked teams, but it's still 2 Power 6 teams. I think Colorado is up to this one. The crowd's going to be strong. And, similar to the St. Mary's handicap, an unfamiliar trip for the Vols, I think, could bite them.
Yep. This is a big time stay away for me. Fun front court battle because of the way Kamwa's emerged for Tennessee, and Fulkerson's in there too. So interested to see how that pans out, but not anywhere to the point where I'm ready to back either team. All right, Kai, let's go to the chat. I see a lot of mob behavior going on right now, which is great. Mob input. So what do we got?
All right, Jim, we got a lot of questions. Let's start with BYU and Missouri State. Low spread, -2, -1.5, but there's guys out, Matthew. Who do you lean in BYU, Missouri State?
Jim, if you have the info on Gideon George, that would be very helpful. I don't have his status for today. No one does. Chat mob, get on the case. We're going to put you to work this morning. But Kai, I think without Gavin Baxter and Richard Harward, BYU down their 2 key centers, I think that matters a lot. Baxter was looking really strong replacing Harward, and I worry that they're going to miss kind of that interior muscle, that avenue to play inside out to give some balance to the perimeter. So I kind of like Missouri State just because I think BYU could be due for a little bit of regression for the next couple of weeks as they adjust to the new normal without Harward and Baxter.
They certainly regressed losing at Utah Valley.
Yeah, it's already started. Yeah, very true.
All right, a game that starts at 11 Central. Robert Morris and Milwaukee. Guys, the ultimate stay-away game, Jim, if I've ever seen one. Patrick Baldwin, I have no idea if he's playing. Milwaukee's terrible without him.
They're both terrible. Robert Morris is never engaged. Michael Green is not in there, so that takes away a ball handler. Might slow it down. Man, this game is gross. I think both these teams are untouchable right now.
Yeah, Robert Morris has the better coach, Kai. That's all I have to add there. You're either playing Robert Morris or you're not playing this game. Do not play Milwaukee based on Pat Baldwin news. I don't think he makes a difference. I really don't. I think this team has a lot of chemistry issues. It's the epitome of my turn, your turn rec ball. I hate watching Milwaukee play.
So shouldn't a 5-star matter in a my turn, your turn team?
Yes, I guess. But okay, fine. Fair point. I don't know. Florida just dismantled this team with them. I'm sort of souring on Baldwin the whole Milwaukee project this year.
Put him in a locker, Jim. Just do it. Wright State, Cleveland State. We're going to the horizon here. Game spreads come down 2.5 now. I tell you what, matchup wise, Jim, I think it's Cleveland State because Wright State can't stop anything. But number wise, I liked Wright State at 3.
Yeah, I kind of am tied a little bit to preseason priors and think Wright State should be an ever so slight favorite here. But I don't know. Cleveland State got them once last year in just an insane end of game. And then the next day, Wright State beat them by like 30. That was kind of Wright State's thing last year.
Yep.
I would still lean towards the Raiders. I hope they're starting to figure out their defensive foibles. They were better in the second half against Fort Wayne, extended in that game and really were convincing. But Cleveland State defends quite a bit. So if they can take away the paint for Basili and Holden, then they've got a chance. But I lean towards Wright State as a dog.
Yeah, I think the preseason priors is a good point. If you're sticking to that, Wright State is the right side. But man, Cleveland State looks good. If you're going off current form, I think the current number is about accurate.
All right, how about NC State Louisville? A big game we do not have on our slate today. Spread is around 3.5.
Yeah, Louisville took money, I believe.
Matt,
they did.
Is that too high? A little bit. You're right. Is that too high?
Yeah, even for the Louisville lover like myself, I do think it's too high. I know NC State's coming off that 4 OT win. Could obviously be sort of they won that game, right?
They won by
like 6. Yeah, against the Skurs.
Against Nebraska. Yeah.
Against Nebraska. Yeah, Jim, I know you're sort of souring on NC State. I'm kind of starting to pick up some of your breadcrumbs. I thought you were
I've been beating the Darian Sebren drum for like a week now.
Yeah, but why have they not played a lot better is my question. Like 4 OTs to Nebraska isn't exactly
probably
great.
Because they lost their best player to a shoulder injury at the start of the year would be my guess.
Was he their best? Okay, I guess that's fair. They have depth. They should be better. They should be better.
That's a particular spot where they don't have depth though. Like a really functional big man who can score and swat shots. Like Dewona is not that great. I do think it's gotten up too high. I would be tempted to step in on NC State, but I'm not really interested in going against the market on a team that just played 4 OTs. So stay away.
Yeah. Two quick hitters here. Matt, Tennessee Martin, Western Illinois.
Love Tenny Martin. Been backing him a lot this year, but Western Illinois is a juggernaut, and I'm not in the business of fading that team right now, even as big as this number is.
I like the under in a high total game.
Yeah, very, very high spread here, in my opinion, but I've got nothing as well. And Jim, Bradley, SIU, Edwardsville, a big Illinois rivalry battle.
I lean towards Bradley. Matt's Braves. He absolutely loves those guys, but big favorite.
I hate him as large favorites.
Offense. Yeah, it goes small if you're betting them. I especially above 10. Shrug.
All right, one more, then we'll go back to the questions. We have a ton of chat mob today. It's great. Army, Air Force, battle military. I would say both teams, Matt, have looked much better than I expected preseason.
Yeah, all military academies continue to outperform expectations. Tough home spot here, obviously, for Army. It's across country travel at a little bit of altitude. So I gave a pretty hearty chunk of home. I think
the odds makers.
So the odds makers, it appears as well. I know there's another dichotomy between their number and Ken Pom. I do lean Air Force. Just been very impressed with the role players, Jim, that we knew nothing about coming into the year. But it's not just the AJ Walker show. He actually has some help.
Yeah, Octave's been good. I lean towards Army after the money has come in. Like Air Force laying over a field goal now, and I think is a coin flip game. But again, I don't really want to fight the market here. I'm not passionate enough about Army, a team that I've faded a bunch already this year. I'm not passionate enough about them to push back against the market.
Rucker's an awesome guard. If you haven't seen him play for Army, he's a little pinball. So got some talent there.
All right, Jim, let's get back to this next game because it's about that time of tip-off, and we'll holster the rest of the questions for later.
Yeah, 25 minutes till tip. We've got Memphis heading to Mississippi. Ole Miss has flipped to a slight favorite. I believe it's kind of all over the place. Last I looked on
Bouncing back
BetRivers,
and forth.
Ole Miss minus a half. Total 136.5. Memphis has now gotten blown out on a neutral by Iowa State. They lost at Georgia, who is definitely worse than Mississippi. Matt, where does that leave us? Like, is Memphis just really bad right now and you should fade them until further notice?
That's where I'm at. Plus, I'm always a sucker for Kermit Davis, ribbit. Jim, I know you are as well. Sort of torn by what I've seen from the Rebs so far this season, but this is a situation where you're just fading Memphis and what appears to be a team in disarray. Some of the quotes coming out from Hardaway talking about he doesn't even know if his players really care about winning. It's really not.
He called it. He's like, they look like an AAU team, and it's like that's what we've all been saying.
It sounded like he was like an angry fan on a forum, not the guy actually coaching the team on the floor. Yeah, Kai, I'm fading Memphis here.
This is why we're low on Memphis every year, guys. Iowa State, Georgia, the losses there, but they're also a scary team to go against because they are locked down on defense. They are the more athletic team in every single game. They did win against SLU, West Kentucky, and Virginia Tech. They have it in them. Are they bad on the road? Maybe that's the issue. Maybe they're just not a very good road team. Ole Miss 0-2 against actually good teams, against the top 250. This is a huge game for them. It's their last chance at a quality win outside of the SEC. So big get up game here for the Rebels. I'm staying far away. Under is probably my favorite angle in this game.
Yeah, I sort of buy under. I mean, just matchup wise, like Memphis has no floor general. They have no point guard. They have nobody that makes anyone else better. And they're playing a team that's going to be really tricky with changing defenses.
Yes.
Can force turnovers. A young team with no real like cerebral head on the floor, that's going to be a problem. I think they could really struggle to score, but as Kai mentioned, Mississippi could too. So I think under and Rebels would be my plays there. All right, let's go to a rivalry in my home state, guys.
Yes.
Wisconsin hosting Marquette at the Kohl Center. Great to have fans back for this one. This is always a good one. Heated, intense rivalry. Wisconsin laying about a touchdown. I saw 6.5 on BetRivers. 138, maybe a high total for a Badger game. But Kai, we have seen Marquette hitting the gas pedal on offense. Like they are going turbo speed. Do we think that shows up in this one?
Literally the fastest team in the country right now on offense. That surprised me. I didn't realize Shaka's kind of getting back to his roots a little bit. He's playing up and down, which is what we were yelling at him to do at Texas, Matt, for years. I'm glad he's doing that. Our buddy Nick in Milwaukee, and Jim can attest, he calls this rivalry a 7 out of 1 to 10 scale. I asked him how heated it is. About a 7. Wisconsin's look pretty dang good. Their defense is obviously top 15 in the country. And Matt, Johnny Davis is the difference for this team. They finally have a guy, again, who can go out and get a bucket late in the clock. That's huge for an offense that, we'll say, takes its time within the swing. But Marquette's a scrappy dog. I think that it's a little bit too many points for me, Matt. I'm leaning towards Marquette.
Yeah, I like Marquette, especially we saw the tug of war in the market. If you can get 7 or better, I would take Marquette. I wouldn't mess with anything below. No. You're right. You talk about the tempo and like you said, the fastest offensive pace in the country. I think that's smart by Shaka, right? I mean, that's a team that doesn't really have a ton of shooting, a ton of skill. I know Kolek's been very impressive and Marcel's been very impressive and Lewis can score down low, but I think this team's at their best. They get out and run and attack people in transition. So you're kind of, it's sort of like a mitigating, take away the half court ugliness is what the transition attack does. So I commend Shaka, Jim, on his adamance on pushing the pace. I think it helps that offense. Yeah,
I totally agree. It sets up for them. You mentioned Marcel. That's the guy you throw at Johnny Davis, like former Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Seems like a perfect matchup. Tyler Wall's gotten some huge buckets for Wisconsin down the stretch of big games. Like he was great in Maui. He had a couple big ones at Georgia Tech this week. So he's an extra matchup they've got to worry about. But I just looked it up, and Marquette is 8-2 against the spread in the last 10 meetings between these two. It seems like the athleticism gives Wisconsin a little bit of problems, and I think it could do that again today. Matt, you mentioned the tug of war in the market. This was at 7, then down to 5.5, touched 7.5 for a second, and now it's kind of settling around that 6.5, 7. I would lean towards Marquette as well. I like them as an underdog. I don't love Wisconsin laying points as a big favorite, so I would lean towards Marquette as well. All right, let's stay in the Midwest. Let's chug around the mitten. Over to the mitten. Michigan hosting San Diego State. Kind of a strange Strange non-conference game here.
Mhm.
Kai, we've got the Aztecs going on the road. They're probably down Lamont Butler, who has a wrist injury. Michigan, though, couldn't score against UNC's defense. So how do they score against the Aztecs defense?
Yeah, the Steve Fisher Bowl, Jim. Very
return, baby.
Yeah, very exciting here. Michigan lately, I'm surprised the line's risen a little bit because of how they've looked lately. They're 0-3 against teams in the top 80 right now, outright. Granted, they're all in top 40 as well as top 80, but the cutoff is there because their best win's Buffalo currently. But San Diego State, Matt, also 0-2 against premier competition, USC and BYU. Pretty good teams there. I think this game's low scoring. Defensive battle. They're two of the slowest teams in the country, two of the best Ds in the country. And I'm worried about San Diego State on the road against a Michigan team that I think is way better at home. There is significant home court here. Line's high. I lean towards the Aztecs, but that gives me pause.
Yeah, I hate when teams going West Coast flying across two time zones, especially an early start. I had this game and a couple others just circled for weird start time spots. Gives me the heebie-jeebies if you're looking to back the dog, which just on a pure number handicap basis, I was leaning toward the Aztecs. But again, it's like the fourth game we talked about where the home court is tricky and you have to respect it. And so I think you do here, even though there is sort of that, how much stock do you put in the return of Dutcher to Michigan, where it all began for him? Maybe he's extra motivated. He really wants to go into his old stomping grounds, get a win. I don't know, Jim.
He's going to be out there defending.
He's going to get stops, knock down jumpers. He might actually put a jersey on too. Who knows? But I do like San Diego State. I'm just not going to bet it because of the awkward spot, the start time.
Yeah, the no Butler thing matters to me too. Like I just think he's been a really good shooter for them, a playmaker, and their offense has been awful. Like they haven't shot the ball well, and he's one of the few that has. So it is a stay away from me. The total is really low, but it belongs there. So stay away from me. All right, Matt, you mentioned all the weird home that we've had, some of these odd trips that teams are taking. Not so much here. We've got a in-city battle, Loyola, Chicago, heading to DePaul. I debated internally how much to give for home. I think Wintrust is not a great atmosphere normally, but it's a Saturday. It's the local rival. Loyola kind of has the more juice nationally. So this is like weirdly DePaul's little brother in this one.
Yeah,
almost,
it is. Feels that
I would
way.
say. DePaul hasn't really played anybody, Matt. Their best opponent was Rutgers, who lost by 35 to Illinois last night. Rutgers might stink. What do you think happens here with the big Chicago duel?
Yeah, if you're just looking at the resume and the results of DePaul, Jim, you mentioned this. You're right. There's a lot of holes you can pick pretty easily and plenty of indicators that you could sound the fraud sirens and be justified in doing so. Beating Eastern Michigan without Noah, Kai, not impressive. Jim, you mentioned the Coppin State thing in our group chat, how they're only up 1.5. Coppin had like three technicals in that game. I just think DePaul's good, despite all of the ways you can normalize the results and think they're not good. I like the talent on the floor. Javon Freeman-Liberty is like an actual pro, and he's playing like it. And just having a stable driving force at the point of attack, something that this program has badly missed the last few years. With all due respect to Charlie Moore, he just wasn't as consistent or as reliable as Freeman-Liberty. Jim's laughing as I'm being overly kind to him. So, Kai, I like the Demons. I think they play possessed today, and I will be in the building. So that's one extra point for DePaul home court right there. My presence.
Yeah, DePaul's 5-1 against the spread. That's pretty good there, Matt. This reminds me of the Texas Tech game 2019, which I attended. Wintrust was rocking. It was the biggest game on their non-con. They were undefeated. They had momentum. The top 25 discussions were coming into play. They're not quite to that level this season yet. By the way, they went like 2-16 in the Big East, whatever. I want DePaul to be good, Jim.
We all do.
JFL is playing like an All-American. David Jones has been revelation. Loyola's shooting might be a concern, but their defensive schemes, I just think they're going to take the middle away here and make DePaul struggle to score. So it's a lean DePaul in the number, but I don't know. Loyola just might be an octave better.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I lean. I think Loyola is just better. And DePaul hasn't seen anybody like Loyola yet this year, whereas Loyola played in the battle for Atlantis, and they've played in the NCAA tournament. Like all these guys made the Sweet 16 last year. Mm-hmm. Williamson is the perfect dude to throw at Freeman-Liberty too. I mean, he put DeSumo in a straitjacket. I think he can do the same to Freeman-Liberty. I would lean towards the Ramblers. It's come down, so you could even punch back against the market, get 3.5 or so. I am a Rambler here. Sorry, Matt. I know you're going to be rooting hard for the home Demons there.
I wonder what the split of fans is. You think it's like 50-50?
I think it'll be
think?
70-30.
70-30 like DePaul. Okay.
I bet people will show out for this game.
I hope so.
It's at a good
Come
time.
on, DePaul.
It's a big game. Yeah. I bet there's actually a crowd.
You're in charge of getting them on.
I am. I guess I'm going to I'll rally the troops today. I'll go find some folks on the street and bring them in.
All right. So yeah, Matt and I disagree on that one. Ooh, we'll see where that leads. Okay. Back to the chat again. Hit the like button, subscribe to the Best Bets YouTube channel. I know the questions are rolling in, so I'll leave it to you.
Dude, there's a lot of questions, guys. Let's do a little quick hitter weave style here. Let's start with the 11 o'clock games. Harvard, UMass. I'm going to Matt. What do you think?
I had to take in this game. Jim, what do you think? I'm blanking on it now. Go. What do you have?
It's been bet to UMass. I would probably step in on Harvard at this point. And I also kind of like the over. Not a lot of big guys on the floor. A lot of guards. A lot of shooters.
Yeah, I'd probably step in on Harvard as well. Matt.
Oh, there's a key lineup note. Sorry, I had written down. I forgot what it was. So check that. Those of you betting that game.
That is why the number's moving. There you go. Indiana, Matt, your alma mater is playing Nebraska.
Yes, they are.
Ironically, there is a Nebraska-Indiana bar in Chicago, which makes no sense to me still. It's Kirkwood. It's a pretty good bar. Matt,
great establishment. Nice watering hole. Indiana.
Wasn't that where our weave con is? Be a little kinder to Kirkwood.
That's what we've come. Well, Nebraska, Indiana is a weird combination for a bar. Matt, what do you got?
I worry about Indiana guarding shooters. I thought they were overly robotic, helping off on drives against Syracuse, and Syracuse killed them from behind the arc. Nebraska will bomb from even deeper and more aggressively. Stay home on shooters, IU. I do worry this is not a good matchup for the Hoosiers.
Sort of like the over, but this is the other team coming off the 4-OT game. So keep an eye on Nebraska there.
I'll take Clemson, Miami. I can't figure Clemson out for the life of me. I see +2. And I think, Miami sucks, but then again, we've seen them be pretty up and down this year. So I'm staying away in this game. Jim,
stay away.
Yale, Auburn. This one's around 15, I think. You like a side in this one?
I swore off betting against home Auburn after they ran away from UCF in the second half. There's a big athletic edge, big size edge here. Kessler can probably put up like 30 and 16 in this game. He's really coming into his own. Is a stay away because I think the number's a little high, but I'm just not going against Auburn right now.
Yeah. Thought it was high against UCF, but it wasn't. Same thing here. Not going to bet it.
Yeah.
Louisiana Tech, Santa Clara. I tell you what, my number leans Louisiana Tech, but the matchup, I don't think is very good for Kenneth Lofton and the boys. I'm a little bit worried about Santa Clara there.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been as great without Vrankic. I know they have plenty of positional size both up front.
Now they're struggling. Yeah.
And now they're struggling a little bit coming back down to earth after they cost a bunch of money. Jim, I like La Tech. I know it's a weird travel going West Coast. Seems like kind of a throwaway nothing game. But you're catching 3.5 right now. I think this should be close to a pick 'em.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. No Crawford for Louisiana Tech. That matters a little bit too, but Vrankic is certainly more important. Santa Clara was down at half in their last game. They barely snuck out a cover for me at -11. Phew. But it was not a convincing performance. So I think they are coming back to earth, like I said.
Matt, quickest analysis ever on Eastern Washington, Omaha.
Don't bet Omaha. Next.
All right, perfect. And Jim, Wagner, Stony Brook. Wagner was missing several guys coming off COVID, and Stony Brook can't figure out who's in the lineup. What do you think?
There are two games that I just said no thank you today. This is one of them, and the other is Georgia State, and it's because there are four guys that are questionable that matter. And if you have a real line on whether these guys play, maybe there's some value, but no Olani for Stony Brook, no Morales, Hunt, Martinez on the other side for Wagner. Yeah. It's a shrug until you know personnel.
But players don't matter, though. Remember, injuries don't matter. We got to make sure we remind ourselves every show. They don't matter.
Except Asana Sajala. Drexel, Princeton, I'll take it. I am leaning towards Princeton. That's just simply a feel thing.
Agree.
Ivy teams, man, they're doing well this year.
Yeah.
Matt, battle in the ACC, Wake, Virginia Tech.
Like Wake, numbers big. Just don't think Vod Tech's as strong as a large favorite, and the Wake's been strong this year. I think they're actually undervalued because they've given up a lot of runs in garbage time. Oregon State comes to mind. They control Northwestern. I think Wake's good.
Jim, is the Oakland spread against IUPUI too big? It's 14.5.
No. I think there are a few spreads that are too big against IUPUI. I mean, Detroit got up like 21-2 against IUPUI.
Detroit's been a disaster. Yeah, right.
Oakland's better. I think, I don't see how IUPUI scores against anybody, so I like Oakland.
Creighton, Iowa State. This is fun. Get to see if Iowa State's for real here. Creighton, big opportunity. I'm leaning towards the Jays, guys. I'm willing to say Iowa State's early success has been unsustainable. We'll see. We'll see how that fares.
I also lean home Creighton. Home Creighton being
home
the key.
Creighton. Home Creighton. A different ISU. This one is playing Miami of Ohio, and it's Indiana State, Jim. Who do you like here?
Kind of like home dog, Indiana State. Miami of Ohio just had that weird heartbreaker against Cincinnati, the in-state big brother. Indiana State coming off a actually pretty good effort against Loyola that got out of hand at the end, especially after Cam Henry fouled out. So I actually think the Sycamores are a little bit undervalued right now.
Yeah, agree.
They are the number one ATS team in Missouri Valley. They're like 4-3, but still the best ATS record in there.
Xavier Bledson, nice ball player.
Jabo Bledson.
Jabo.
All right, 4 more guys. We're doing really good. Good job. Stetson, FIU, Matt. Any lean in this game? This one's FIU -7. It's gotten bet up pretty significantly.
Yeah, I like FIU. I think Stetson might be the biggest blind spot for me of any roster team in the country. I haven't seen him play this year. I really haven't followed them closely. Jim, do you have any hot Hatters takes?
They're fine. FIU's blown out 2 in-state teams in a row. They blew out FGCU. They blew out North Florida. The market is clearly wise to FIU's last season being a throwaway. So, yeah, at the number, I would stay away.
Let's go with Syracuse, Florida State. I'll take it. The line feels a little bit high to me, but I think Raekwon Evans is back for Florida State.
He is.
That's concerning. He's very, very good. They're a different team with him on the floor. So tread lightly if you like Syracuse there. All right, 2 more here. One for Jim. Rhode Island, Providence, enormous rivalry in this game at the dunk.
Really like Rhode Island here. It was close to being my best bet today. I think they win outright on the road. Providence coming off a crazy free throw fest against Texas Tech. Rhode Island's interior defense is excellent. So give me the Rams on the road.
Might be getting Jalen Carey back today as well. Not that we care, but again, he doesn't matter. Okay, there you go. And no one does.
All right, last one, Matt. End with a bang here before best bets, guys. Northern Kentucky, Purdue, Fort Wayne. Spreads come down quite a bit. -1.5 at BetRivers.
The Mastodons.
Really?
Yeah, I think they've eviscerated that zone. They can shoot it. Great ball movement. Will they play defense today? Unclear. It'd be nice. They usually don't, but it'd be nice if today would be an exception to that rule.
Yeah,
nice.
I wish they were getting 2 or 3 still, but
all right,
it's come down. It's come down. Yeah.
Kai,
we get like 30 games. Good job.
You get to lead us in best bets. So take it away, Mr. McEwen.
All right, let me get the line here. All right, this is a weird one, guys. I'm doing Idaho State -4 hosting Northern Arizona. There's not a lot of good analysis for this. I just think Idaho State is better than they're currently showing. I'm a big fan of Ryan Looney. Think they get the win in the Big Sky contest today. Jim, -4 Idaho State.
I just want to throw out that Northern Arizona had 28 turnovers against Weber State in their last game. It was like a 40% turnover rate. So that team is not good right now.
Good.
Yep. All right.
Go Matt, go Bengals.
Yeah. Matthew, you're up next. Your best bet.
Yeah, Cal State Northridge, Jim. That's who I'm taking. The Matadors, 683 on the betting rotation. They're taking on Fresno State. Just seems like a game where they can stay close. Fresno is a large favorite. Does not sound
low
like
total too,
and a low total, 122. So yeah, 13-point spread, 122 total. We talk about low total, high spread, usually a good value for dogs. So that's where I'm at.
Yep. All right, I will go last here. My best bet is Penn, the red and blue, in a Philly 5 game. They're going to Temple. Temple just lost Caleb Battle. I think that matters quite a bit. He's their best perimeter scorer. And then Penn got Michael Wong back. They got Jordan Dingle back. They were feisty for a lot of that Villanova game. I like the red and blue this year. I think this should be close to a pick without Battle. So I will take getting +3.5, getting a field goal. So Penn would be my best bet. All right, guys. Anything else we want to do to wrap it up, or should we go watch some basketball?
Go Demons.
Yeah. Go Demons, Matt. Yeah, sure. Why not? That's our Big East Chicago team.
That's who we love.
That's right. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in to Spinny Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, 11:15 a.m. Eastern, Sunday. The Packers are off, so I don't care about the NFL. So we're going to talk a lot of college basketball. So thank you for tuning in. Hit the like button on your way out. Thank you to BetRivers. Thank you to Phil68.